All right, let's settle into our restorative and internal alignment practice today. So what I'd like you to do is position yourself up on the height of your bolster and blanket. So you can see it's in between the blankets. The bottom blanket is rolled, the top blanket is flat. And when I sit in front in my traditional Supta Baddha Konasana zone, I want you to get the feel of the legs and the bones of the thighs to be up on height in the very beginning before you even buckle up, unless you're already getting buckled into it. But you'll feel your low back of the waistline. You'll feel the joint structure of the knee to the hips settle down into the floor. And then as you put your belt over, don your belt, you're going to place it around your waist, and then as it slips forward across the top of your feet, I want you to slide the part where the buckle is in an easy area. Actually, it is right. It is leg length. It's a little too tight for me with my leg length, though. So I'm going to loosen it up, but I'll have the buckle in a place I can easily either loosen it up or unbuckle it when needed. And then as you guide your spine back into the arch, feel where the waist lengthens, and then add a sandbag. Either if you have two, you're going to have one on each thigh. And if you have one, you'll place it across the ribs. But find a place on the ribs where it feels like it kind of sinks, and the support in the lungs and the core muscles center. Okay, so feel where the spine is arching, and then continue the arch by moving your arms wide. See if you got enough space around you for the width with the arms, and extend them both behind you. Interlace your fingers at the roots and turn the palms to stretch back the arms behind you. So the arms feel like they're clearly attached, right? They're not behind you, they have a connectivity. But as we begin the process of a little bit of movements to get into the shape, select the length of your inhalation. And with an exhalation, center the back of the skull on the blanket. And very clearly, you're going to reach your elbows out wide and relax your arms to an open quality for the perspective of the chest muscles besides each side of you. So you have those two sides to approach with the experience of breathing globally. Internalize the alignment of breath. And simply feel the inspiration when you breathe in, and the sense of calm and resolution when you out breath. So that might feel for you kind of closed mouth. Some people have more of that perspective. And it might mean a little more sound. And you can do any of that in your environment. And explore the breath wave, the breath sound. But get a feel where the shoulders are motioning almost to the reach of the arms, where they reach open. And it's an interesting balance. It's a delicate balance with the chest muscles and the shoulders. But I really encourage you to spend the next few moments with that study of kind of branching out with your arms and feeling the centering of the shoulder blades and the span of the chest. Belly soft. If at any time you feel that you need to bring your arms in a little closer because of the intensity and the striving in the chest muscles, just let that be so comfortable for you to experience. Take a few more moments here. So we're arriving into our practice. If it's a light stretch in your legs, that's okay. It doesn't need to be intimidating to the hips. We have plenty of research we'll do with our angles of alignment today in the hips and the legs. Now carry through another comfortable breath. Feel as you bring your hands together, interlace your fingers, and turn your palms towards the ceiling. And one time as you sweep back with the arms, uniting at the roots of the fingers. Okay, so get a feel for that range of reaction with your breath, right? Noticing, and it's a different noticing, right, from when your arms were a little more passive to this active arm pattern for your breathing. Okay, now as you relax your clasp of your hands, move the sand off of you, and we're going to take the legs into a little bit of a cross fiber stretch. So unbuckle the belt, try to loosen that off of your legs. And well, actually, first we're going to get the hip flexor. So we'll bring the knees to point up. First things first here. Slide the belt away, unless you don't, it doesn't bother you. You can leave it there. And then scoot a block in under your rear so that you're sitting on it. You're on your back though, so it doesn't probably feel like you're sitting, but there is a sitting position, and stretch your legs both straight down so you have that reach through the thighs, and place some weight on the top of the legs. And as you position that weight, can you press? Okay, so actively utilizing some force of kind of some will here. You want to feel how gravity flows through the body, but with the feet flexing. And the energy in my hands is identical to my feet, although they don't look exactly the same because I can't really scrub my heels of my hands like I could with my feet on the floor. But feel that awareness. If the back of your knees are a little bit disgruntled about that, you might have a slight bend in the knees. But feel the tops of the thighs and then try to push that sandbag so it's actually as far down, although we don't want it to slide off quite yet. So far down on the top of the thighs. Okay, if you have two sandbags, you would just pack it. Okay, so I step my feet about hips distance apart. I try to keep my sand on so I can experience that length in the front zone. And then relax the toe drive. See if you can go away from the toes pushing back, the toe drive, to the feet in a little more neutral, but not turning out. Is that possible? Let your hands settle down beside you so the elbows are possibly touching the ground. Feel the shoulders push back as if they're trying to squeeze the bolster behind you. If you would like to take your blanket off of the top bolster, the one on top, you might prefer that for your neck angle. In the next few moments, it will make the pose a little deeper, but if it's bothering your neck, shift it away now. Might feel good on the neck for some people. Okay. And then we'll take the belt. We're going to take one moment here. Just grasp the belt, bring it overhead, and stretch open the chest. Okay, feel the width of the hold on the belt. Yep, so that you have a generous width with the chest muscles. Okay, a few more moments. So we're going to start really sweeping through our legs, okay, our legs and the channel up into the midsection. So feel where there might be a place you could bring some concentration and some order in the core body. So let go of the belts, okay? And then we'll slide the feet in, and I want you to bring the right foot crossed up to the left knee. You're gonna take the sand off at this point. Get a feel there, and then as your knee is open, I know you still have the block under, you're gonna press the left foot a little closer to you. Keep that right knee open, okay? Get the ball, because it's gonna be part of this hip juicing here. And then as you push down to your left foot, recruit your glute muscles here. You're gonna push down to your left foot, you're gonna lift up your rear and slide the block away, okay? And I want you to get a feel here that you're gonna lean your body weight into that ball. Okay, so the ball is at the upper outer left thigh. If you don't have a ball, you can use a block or a towel, or you can wad up a blanket. So you have a little bit of height on the exterior part of the upper thigh. Hold the right knee. And then as you're holding that right knee, we're gonna pull the knee towards you. Find the right mixture of intensity here with the hold of your knee. And I would keep it selectively focused. So the right arm could stretch back, you know, and that encourages that whole right side landscape to stretch, but focus on the right hip. Give it a few moments here. Feel the connectivity through the side channel. Squish the ball. Really let your leg kind of press down onto that ball. And now when you do come back in center, we're going to shift the side so that right foot is down, the left foot is up, cross to that right knee. This time we won't add a block in the beginning, but we'll put the ball to the right upper outer thigh and lean immediately over onto the ball. Hold the left knee and feel that conscious connectivity through the outer left, the lateral rotators of this left leg. Okay, the left arm could reach gradually. You could kind of strike it back fast, but maybe one thing you could focus on kind of from here through the end of the session would be going slow. And, you know, none of these sequences are fast moving. So everything kind of goes at a pace that you could pick up when you're ready. So if something feels like you want to go slower into it and out of it, do that. Go slow and feel the connective links with the tissues. Yeah, and some people let the leg cross over so actively that their foot is almost on the floor, and that's a leg length thing too, right? So it's not incorrect if you see my foot way up and yours is touching, but you want to find that the ball is, it has a responsive surface, so you're kind of on a little bit of a bounce back from that ball, right? You're a little bit bounced up from it with your tissues. So feel the waist line from the low belly kind of quiet area with breath, right? See if you can feel a little impact of breath there. We're going to get right to that in just a few seconds with cat pose. So feel the length. Maybe my cat Mindy over here will come over for cat pose. She's our cat pose specialist. Okay, now feel where you let the left arm lower down, and when you shift, okay, you're going to uncross to the leg. We're actually going to turn to left side, actually turn so you're facing the other way for a few moments. You can always look over, see what's going on. But the knees, hips distance, when I move to cat shape, I want to round the back and almost as if you've got a giant beach ball at your belly and you're trying to work on lifting your back muscles, rounding the back, and feel that spinal column as you arch the back into cow pose. Feel the chest slide forward, and then consciously work that rounding and arching of the back, okay? Feel that wave of movement in the tummy, Okay, even if you slow that down and the hands come in a little closer, you want to feel that you really consciously can move in your back muscles and your ribs. It's kind of interesting. Take a down dog, lift up the knees, press back. The hands press the floor away. Head lowers maybe to touch your bolster. That could happen for some of us. And then when you feel the seat reaching back, the roots of the toes pressing downwards. The main reason I'm mixing this in the beginning, we'll come around to it probably again, but we feel the connectivity of the arms and the wholeness of the body in a balancing pose, okay? So feel the heels lift up as high as they're gonna go, kind of peel up the foot. You still got some toes wrapped on the floor to hold you up. And then as you lower down through the heels, yeah, take a foot to step in center. Left foot would be a good one. And then kick up the right foot or just slowly lift it so you have a sense of connection through the core line. And then we're going to quickly change sides. So right foot down and left leg up, or just change sides, whatever leg you have positioned. But this is an idea of the concept of uniting right upper, lower beam. And then lower left foot and lower knees down and take the blanket back, if you haven't already moved it, and then pivot your bolster across your mat. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is to have both blankets at the back of your mat stacked up so they are horizontal like your bolster, and then turn around to take a seat on your bolster. You could turn anywhere you want actually, right? You're in your home classroom. Okay, so after you situate your props again and again, we sit on the bolster and we have our right leg. Let's see how this is going. I got to get this down right today. So I got my seat on the bolster. Widen it yourself out on your bolster. And if you have, if you feel like you want to ball under your left knee, add something. And then take a sandbag up on the left thigh, or a bag of weight. Okay, so I've got a belt. I'm going to spend a moment reaching the belt under my right foot, and when I hold on, I want you to kind of coordinate that reach so your hand is working to pull to the right foot. But once I access this underside of my leg to stretch there, I'm going to stay with that, and that's it. That's my maximum. I'm going to kind of sneak in, bending my right elbow a little deeper to the leg, and then kind of survey the situation in my left side, okay? So when I lean to that right, I want you to lift up the left arm and get a feel for turning, yep, lifting the arm, and maybe turning your head to look down to the right leg. But work with the process of this kind of unusual pattern internally. You know, many of the pose sequences we do are, you know, they're kind of normal range of movements, but this kind of makes it, you know, different than like a basic stretching practice. It's this internal alignment. So if my left arm is behind me or reaching is an individual choice, but it's important that you select and survey this sensation in the side beam, so you feel not just the ribs placement, but the low back and that experience of the lateral reach of your waist. So give it a few moments. If your neck feels like it's kind of in a holding pattern, I truly hope you turn your head towards the right leg and maybe even let your forehead nod down. Okay, left arm could be touching the side behind you, or maybe up and over. You're up in arms. Okay, so give a few moments to lean into it. You know, with that weight pressing towards the right leg, you're going to slide your right hand onto that belt, and then just take it off the belt and put that hand to the left knee, and then pivot your waistband that you were just stretching. So that could be a little confusing. Am I getting the right spaces to process the sequence? Well, you'll hold the knee or above or below the knee, whichever you can grasp onto. And when you turn, internalize, the eyes, the rotation, but get that feel of where the ribs expand with your breath, right? So if I was to sit forward with my rib cage and breathe, it's a little lower in my core for my breath. And when I twist, if I go a little slower, right, and I use the left hand behind me on top of something to support myself to turn, right? You can turn kind of blindly and still have a very concentrated inner reorganization. So give it some moments. If you're, a little distracted with it, it's going to be a twisty time. So we're doing some twists and turns with this one. So you always have another twist to come to. Okay, so feel, where does the spine turn? Just concern yourself with that for a moment. And then when you unwind, that's only the first turn. You're going to come back forward, and then you'll take off your belt, and we'll take that left foot and slide it a little down so the left knee is now to the floor. Sand stays on. I might have to reset it so it's up onto my leg. And then we're going to go from this left side and then take the right leg, cross it over the left leg, and feel where that right knee is supported and elevated, and it's not too torqued. So if my left knee is too far open, it's going to probably be difficult on the side of my knee. So I do want it to be compact, but it depends on your knee offering, right? So when you twist to your right now, you're going to bring your right hand back to the block or the blankets, and then reach your elbow to that left leg by doing two things, right? You're squeezing the leg in, you're turning your ribs so your thick back ribs rotate, and maybe your spinal column goes for the ride, just the mid spine, right? Your cervical vertebrae is wildly flexible in all the ranges, which is why it has complications often. But the lumbar stays set. So feel where the body twists, bring out the torso a little bit, breathe deep, rest your eyes. Get a few more breaths in here. Okay, so when you feel that turn, can you manage still the hook of the elbow and the circulation in the left back of the arm and into that left side of your back? And now as you unwind, we're doing this as a build-up for side sage today. This is a building process. So you will feel like you've done something to kind of earn that shape, like you'll feel some concentration. So when we uncross, we're not uncrossing entirely. We're just taking that foot from over the leg now in front of the left knee. Simply put your sands to simply sand the right leg. And then take a couple blocks and lift up through the heart, sitting upright. And then feel your body, some parts flex and some parts arch. So it's a mixture of flexing and arching to get here, isn't it? We won't put those words together. Okay, so get a feel for leaning the right hip open and the inner right thigh. It's kind of wild that you can move through 3 shapes within 4 minutes, and it's different channels internally. It's like you could travel all kinds of places just in your body. You feel like you've gone to a different continent in an hour. So as you're in your home doing this, and you lean forward, feel the approach of the arching And then feel if you lower down a little bit. We've been kind of told to not round at all, right? So when you are leaning forward, make sure the blocks are at enough height that you feel like you can approach, going a little deeper into the stretch for your right thigh, your right hip. Give a few moments here. Let the hands either wander with the blocks left or right or straight into the center, you choose. Okay, now when we come back to upright, we're going to take side sage with the right knee on the top, the left hip down. So all these cycles of motions, we won't really understand probably till we get through the second series, but we're going to slide down off the bolster, and then I want you to approach the side sage so the legs have patterned themselves appropriately with a ball on the inside of the right knee or inner thigh. And then when you add that sand sack on the side, place it so it's on the ribs, right? Since they've had so much dynamic mobility in strange ranges. Now, if you get your hip kind of pushed into your bolster, it might feel satisfying in the instant you get there, and then it gets a little bit squabbly. So I would have a little tiny bit, not separation, but you're next to the bolster. You're not on it with your hip, right? You're next to it. And you are trying to squish the bolster. You're trying to see what it's worth, right? If it's a pretty firm bolster, it's going to be able to take that pressure. So when I lean to the left, I've got my left arm under, right? It's between the props, and you might need a block overhead. Okay, not always, not everyone wants the block. So settle in. If you've got lots of sandbags, you can put another one onto your hip, or you could move this one down. Okay, I'm trying to encourage us to continue that circulatory support for the rib reach and that design of motion through the rib cage. But it's a little bit of a side motion which has some effect from the twisting. So I want you to notice how the twisting we did might energize this shape, might make it easier to get into, like no big deal, restful. And emphasize just one main focus is the breathing in the rib cage. You don't have to hold yourself up, but you hold the breath accountable in the ribs. So in breath, filter the air through the nose, ribs expand. Exhale out of the mouth. Make sure that the neck and the connection to your head is relaxed. That might mean you have to kind of push your head a little bit into the blanket, just a tad, so you can relax the neck. We'll take a few more moments. Now, any movement you search out, it's up to you, right? If you want to feel your arm overhead and feel the ribs move a little bit towards the right as you know it, and down towards the bolster to kind of massage through the organs, right? They don't really receive that massage effort just in our daily habits, besides whatever you put into the body, right, is massaging the organs for better or worse, right? So this is a good opportunity in your class time, right, to use the props, to use the suggested shapes, and feel how that internal awareness flows, how gravity flows through the organs. This is an easier pose to do that than the seated poses. Those are so focused that you lose that insight. But we're returning there. So as that arm overhead is going to slide down, if you got props, you're going to probably move them from overhead. And then lower, you might swing your arm back. Don't knock the wall. And then as you take that sand off, okay, we're gonna turn into the bolster. Okay, no cat-cow on this side between. A little windshield wiper though, okay. So sit in front and bring your hands out. Actually, back on the bolster is good too, the elbows back, and then windshield wiper your knees side to side. I would make it really casual, but comfy, you know, so you are swinging through the knees. The back of the pelvis has a swing to it as well. Surprisingly, right? It's not packed onto the bolster. So now when you let your knees go a little side to side, okay, feel a little bit of motion in the hips. And then when you bring your feet close to you, you're going to bring your hands back and pick yourself up on the bolster. And then stretch your left foot straight out, the right foot into the bolster, okay? And when you feel that flex of that left foot, you're going to place you got 3 items. You need a ball, a sandbag, and a belt, okay? All with the letter B, okay? Bag, okay? So, as I put my sand on the right thigh, I'm going to bring the belt under the left foot. We're going to kind of go through this side with not as many detailed specifics to get there because you have some of that idea in from the last side, so we'll go right in. Now, if the back of your left knee juts down, if you have a habit of that, really be sure you're on that bolster so you're a little more protected with the joint structure of the leg. If that's still not going to do it for you, you can put a towel or a block under the left leg. Okay, so I would just put it right up next to my bolster so my leg has no dangers. It's only going to be helpful, right, versus anything hurtful. So hold on to the belt, get a reach so you have a lean to the left side. And as you sculpt through this left bicep, you want to feel that you have, you know, it's about a 25% bicep curl, I suppose, maybe more than that, but you feel a curl in your bicep. Does it have a curl? Okay, turn to the right, send the right arm over the side of the face, okay? Feel that lateral zone through the bones, try to get some reach. Yeah, whenever you make it there. Yeah, wander a bit, and since there's so many pose shapes today, go slower if you need to. So as I pull the reach through the arm, if I want to use the block, I keep it. If it's distracting, I take it away. Feel the reach through that right side, look down to the left leg, bring the right arm behind you at least once for a good 10 seconds so you can relax your grip in your shoulder and then feel the waist stretch. I mean, it's kind of that mystery area internally that we miss out on creating movement there, but we're doing it right now, so we're not missing out. Don't need to get sad about it now. Okay, so source out that circulation in your side body. Breathe slow. Now, if your arm is overhead, that could be, you're going to stretch it back and use that as an angle this time to go right into the twist. I'm going to slide off of my belt from my left hand to my right leg, wherever it lines up. If last time you held your knee and it was really easy, but this time it's not happening, it's really interesting, right? How each of the rib sides has a different amount of hydration and circulation, each of the lungs. So I would just kind of take notes. Hopefully you have a notepad. Okay, but turn, and if you're aiming to get your knee on the second side, but it wasn't there immediately, then turn the ribs all those things of the thick back ribs. Limited rotation, keep it simple. Flex the left foot, keep it awake, don't turn off the left foot. Keep the spout awake in that left foot all the way through. Energy flows. Now, as you let go of the pressure with the left turn, notice the arm, kind of how you feel the arm strength on these. These are a little bit straining on the arm strength, right? Because it's holding you up, it's a different coordination. So when you come back center, we're gonna take that twist pattern, right? But we're gonna go the other way. But just notice how your arm works when it's this version versus elbow. So I move the ball away. Okay, I've got my right knee down, cross the left leg over the right. It's an origami class today. Yeah, lots of arrangements. Okay, so I've got my sand on that right thigh. And when you center up your spine, it could take an hour of study of how to get that right, but feel the tailbone spatially back. Notice if it's arched, that space. Tails usually feel kind of arched. You know, and the idea is don't tuck it. Yeah, don't tuck it. Try to keep it arched and alive. And then when you turn to your left side, you're going to hook the elbow and then immediately notice the back musculature. And as you turn, maybe you get your left hand behind you on the blanket. Align from the core shoulder strength too. So that right core of the shoulder is helping you turn. Yeah, and we're usually asking for shoulder releasing work, neck release work, but we need to find those areas to be strong, right? So that you want to have them hold energy around the muscle fibers, the bundles, right? You've got to have something there and then start to align it. And that might help you feel less strain instead of kind of just doing flexibility training. So feel where you have the muscle fibers working, feel alignment, and then try to turn to your right or left, sorry. And if you don't turn left, feel the inside rotation. You might let your head turn. You might close your eyes. You might straighten your right arm. Breathing slowly. Belly full. Feel the magnetism in the shoulders. It's pretty awake energetically. And then unwind to the front and let the left foot slide in front, the sand to the left leg. Take both blocks. If the knees are feeling a little sore from that continuous folding position, slide the feet a little forward. If it's too much, period, right? You can always take the legs in front and shake it out for a moment and then come back if it's okay for you to. So just know we're almost out of this territory of motion around the knees, but feel when you lean forwards, the reach down through the hips. The slower you go, kind of manifesting that support internally. And then let the blocks lower if possible. Feel if you can lean into it. We're getting kind of the difficult tissue elaborate motions in the beginning out. So we're kind of working through this first. That seems reasonable. So when you lean forwards, walk the blocks. They can go right, they can go to the center. They're probably not going to go left because it's your left hip you're working. Feel as we prepare for side sage on the left hip open, what is up, right? So the The one thing you might notice is in this position, be pre-sage pose, pre-sage, you got this left hip steeping. So this is the side we're going to work. So I would encourage you to go with your block to the top right corner for a moment. Feel that delivery into that side, beginning. You've got all these nooks and crannies to work around, so I could visualize we could flow into sage pose right here, but we've got things that we have to move kind of out of the way as far as the knee, the shoulder, you know, those things that we have that create who we are, and then we got a brain on top of all of it. Okay, so when you do bring your blocks over to the right side, just tuck them over there. Bring your hands back. And then as you move your sand, you could visualize you just drift into this. You slide down, you move your left thigh back and your ball on the inside, and then start to add your weights. I think our blankets are set up right. Yeah, it looks like they are. Okay, we're good. So we got our sand on that exterior shell. And as we lean down, if your blankets are too low, just change them up. Make it a little more comfortable. You're at home, right? You can find a little more comfort. Go get another cup of tea. Okay. So when you reach over, it's time for warm tea. Reach over, you can have your hand on your block or not. This side, I have a perspective when the screen is a little bit away that I just turn a little more towards it. But so I think what's happening is this rib cage is getting a little more mobile, even with these little bits of time I put in for that. So give yourself that opportunity to feel the rib expansion. It's, I think, an easy place to work with your flexibility for your lungs. It's a real, if you get your poses on your props, you can explore your ribs flexibility naturally. So let's use the time wisely for that. So if your arm is overhead, great. If it doesn't like that, no problem, let it rest. It's okay. But the key here is that you're on your bolster and you can feel your ribs stretching. That's it. Anything else is a bonus. If anything's hurting and needs some addressing or shifting, like a knee, then you can always bring your left knee to the right knee and see if that's a little more comfortable. Okay. Surprisingly, sometimes it's actually the opposite. So find what works for a few more moments here. Soak in the breath. Feel the rib cage expand and contract. Now with this left leg and side body, having this kind of flow of circulation from the shape, we're going to actually kind of pack that zone with circulation downstream and with sand on the quadriceps. So what we're going to do is move the left, and actually just go ahead and move your block on over to the side so you know where all your props are this way. And then casually roll into the bolster to the right. And then as you come around to approach coming upright, again, we're going to take the sand's going to kind of stay the same though. We're going to push our bolster to the right side of your mat, and then lower your body down on your back and move a blanket back so you're left with only one. Okay, it's not too much of a puzzle. Okay. So I have my bolster on the right. Yeah, and the bolster, and actually any of those props that are down below, you might want to move them so you can easily get the ball. And as we go here, what we're going to do is put the left leg, stretch it down, and get a sandbag on top. Okay. If you have a couple sandbags, I don't think that would be very easy to dress the leg with 2 sandbags, but you might find you're competent to do that. The challenge I find here is I'm trying to align my back, and my lower back gets a little bit discouraged in the beginning. So my work is in the right knee bending, a foot close to my rear to start. I'm going to get the bolster a little closer. It seems like we're doing some sort of puzzle here, huh? So if the back is a little tight with this pose, what you might do is put the sand higher on the leg so it's closer to your back, right? So the sand idea is that the weight of the sand eventually eases the back. So 2 sandbags could be pretty good. Now to come to think of it. Okay, take a belt. Good luck getting to this one. I'm not right there with you. So I know this one could be a little bit challenging for the back recruitment. So I'm going to get my belt. I'm going to put my knee a little out and get the belt under my right foot. Now we got that. Stretch the right leg up. Yes, there will be a brain float involved, but first we're going to do a lateral move with the leg. So I'm going to hold the belt with just the right hand and move my right leg to an external rotation, although it's pretty internal with the leg. So you want to make sure that sand is well packed and your left arm is open, or it's tossing a ball overhead, one of the other things here. Okay, send the right leg out and feel where your belt is. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't explain this one, but you want your belt closer to your heel. Closer to your heel. It's hard to keep it down to the heel. Okay, but closer to the heel versus like the toes or right below the toes. So it's very site specific on the leg. Now it could be a hamstring issue of circulation. It could be inner thigh. I want my bolster to be really close to my leg, so it's underneath. If your leg doesn't touch the bolster, that's okay. If it's not there, it's making its way, okay? So with the left foot relaxed, if it's not able to stay relatively neutral and it's really turning out, I prefer you move your leg a little bit out to the left side, right, versus closer to the midline. Just a basic ankle analysis. And now move the right leg back up and buckle up to make a loop. I imagine your loop is probably what you want it to be, but it needs to get longer for your next stretch. So I'm going to loosen up my belt. Maybe that's too much. So I've got it so it hangs from my foot to my collarbones, okay? And adjust so you can be comfortable with this. If you got a tie on the back of your head, you might remove that just so it's all comfy. Make it comfy. It's your practice. It might be your only yoga practice today too. So get the best from it. Or this week. Okay, so place your belt to the center of the back of your head. Okay, get a feel. Where does that center for your neck having a little bit of lift? Now this right leg was just identifying with going outward, so it doesn't quite know what it should do yet. Since your brain is going to figure out what to do with it, feel your sense of your left leg relaxing, still settling, but all the energy that goes from that rooting of the left leg helps the right leg kind of vibe up into this pose. So if your hands could hold the back of your head for even a few moments here. Now, not hold and push, but feel the gravity of your head lowering back. Okay, so the right leg has a stretch. I'm always trying to get the belt on the part of the foot that works for me in the moment. So for you, it might be the arch, or maybe for you closer up on the foot to the toes. But feel the flexing. And then feel where the foot doesn't effort so much. It's just held by the belt. Arms are out on the floor. And respect the shape of the pose, right? If you have questions, if you're giving me a sign you need support, let me know. You want to have that belt so it's anchored, right, at the occipital ridge here. which is, I put mine a little bit above the bump on the back of my head. Everyone's got a little bit of a pointy spot, a bulge at the back, right at the occipital ridge where the trapezius is attached, its insertion. So feel if right below the belt, it should feel pretty relaxed, not really twangy. I mean, it has a stretch there, but it's resting back. Few moments. The leg is a little bit shaky. Feel the neck stretch, focus there. You know, as you put your hands to the back of your head, you're going to actually slide the belt away and take your sand off your left leg. And then as you cross the right leg down, you're going to slide the left foot in, knee bends and points up, because that's what they do. Cross the right leg over the left leg. And then you can do a couple things. You can draw the knees to your chest, door one. You can move your knees over towards the bolster. This is only a temporary transition here. And you might like that one quite a bit because it gets that side sheath of the left leg, which has been basically pressed down with a sandbag. So it just starts to move on the outer chamber of that hip. So if I decide to pull my knees in instead and hold the back of my legs, that's okay. It's a decent stretch too. It's different though than the other one, but it gives you some choice. Okay. So feel where that right leg is kind of hugging into the left leg purposely to wake up the outer leg. Okay. And I want you to uncross the right leg and bring the left leg to cross to the bolster. And then add your sand, just your sand, to the outer left leg on that bolster. So the leg is tipped over onto the bolster. And place it so that it's, these sandbags can be a little bit stubborn balancing wise between each side. So you want to find where the sac presses, but you want your nervous system to truly feel invited to let the leg rest into the bolster. If it doesn't touch the bolster, put a blanket on top of the bolster so your leg can actually make its way on there. Stretch the left arm way open. Turn your head to the left. Okay, the one thing we're missing is a ball. So if you have a ball, you can place it at the sacrum. It's not required. It might not feel that helpful this time around because of what we've let into it, but it could feel really good for you too. So doing those things of letting your head turn, relaxing your arms, and feel the receiving end of your breath in your core body. Okay, feel how you land on the exhalation, and if it's an anxiousness to get to the next breath, maybe you guide yourself to a little bit less versus more. So maybe less emphasis on another round. It's about the body actually letting go. So the amount of breaths that you go through is not critical here. It's on how they relax you. That's important. Now connect the dots between the left external leg and into the front of the thigh. The front of the thigh can sometimes feel like it's almost like it has a real strong shield on it, a protective barrier. The quadricep, that's a really powerful and sturdy muscle, right? So work on the side reach, kick the left leg a little bit over, so you're almost trying to straighten it out. Kick is a little bit of a sharp direction there. Maybe it's straighten the leg, so you have that range. Okay, and then when you move your ball away, if you have it there, I want you to actually slide the left leg down and place your sand on the top of both legs, so it's across the legs. Relax your feet. So, you know, if you flex and you flex, the quads are going to also grip, right? They just wake up, wake up. So kind of pat that sandbag down so the front of the legs can lengthen. Give it a moment here. Interlace your fingers, stretch both arms back overhead, lengthen. Feel what starts to arch in your spine, right? If it's like right between the shoulder blades is the biggest arch. And then it goes straight down through the spinal cord into the tailbone, right? So that's where the arch is specifically landing. Okay, now, as you start to move into bridge pose, it's going to be the hips have to lift up and the sand won't be too helpful right now. So we'll just move the sand. It'll be so easy. And we're going to bring our hands to get a ball or block. Slide the feet in, or walk them in, might be better. Knees are going to hold on to that ball between the knees or the block. And then as I lift up my hips, you're going to lift up, feel the side muscles of the legs, but keep the hips lifting. And you might as well add that block underneath the back of the pelvis, mid-height. If you want to go mid or low setting, it's fine, either one. But I want you to emphasize your feet walking in towards the buttocks. So you're trying to scoot your feet in to get this front leg pattern to stretch and create the deeper back bend. So arms are going to go downwards towards the feet. They're not going to hold your feet. But if they do, right, make sure that we all can observe. You got that type of range. But feel where your hands are open. Yeah, if anything's in your way, props and all, move it aside. But master the focus of the feet on the floor. That's a mastery. Foot mastery. Okay, now if there's an inkling of lift in your hips, try to let the props do all the holding. That's just a block. Avoid rolling your head side to side like me. Try to keep your neck stable. Okay. And now as you get a feel for the pressure down into your balls of the feet, you're going to lift up your heels. That's all. And then when you push down to the balls of the feet, you're going to lift up your hips so that the hips are a little bit like they're still maybe touching the block, but they're lifting energetically up. Feel the shoulders back. And then slide the block away. Bring your arms overhead and lower your spine down. Okay, once you ease the back and the knees scoop in towards the chest, you're going to remove that ball. And I want you to take the knees stay in towards the chest here. Take the bolster to the left side. Okay, put it close to your top of your outer left thigh. Get a sandbag, make sure your belt is nearby, all those things that you already have. And then let the right leg lower down with the sand on top of the thigh. Okay, get that top leg supported. And now we can go into this side with the belt under the left foot, lift up through the leg, and then stretch it open. Okay, so when the leg moves out, You want to maintain the right heel pressing. Now, again, if you were to peek down at your foot and your foot's really turning out, or it feels like the sand is not able to rest on the leg, this is a good one for those that are a little bit tighter in the legs. You can master this one because you don't tend to pivot your ankles joint so easily. So try to work with kind of that stability. You know, you don't want to get too flexible. You want to find a balance of stability and flexibility. So feel the left leg moving open and find your natural range where it's always further to go. That's why we're holding back with the bolster. There's always further to go, but I like to stuff the bolster in really close to my external leg so that I can snug my leg up on top of it. And so it kind of feels like it's supporting, gotta get your sand on, supporting your inner thigh, the lymph, right, the drain. And we're gonna do legs up today, so we'll do the full drain of the lymph. Yeah, we might end up, won't be able to get everything in on my list, huh? So I'll figure out how we can get the legs up the right way. Okay, so get a feel for this external rotation in the left leg. If you're really gripping with your fingers and if they hurt, if your hand starts to hurt, you're probably gripping too much, right? So relax your grip a bit. See what the leg can sustain without as much pressure with your hand or without even much hold at all. It might shake a bit. It's temporary, okay? All of it, okay? So now, can you maintain your back touch down on the floor? This is especially for those bendy people, right? You want to be a little careful when you bring your leg back up, that you maintain everything touching down. And then when I hold the belt close so my elbow's on the floor, I'm going to move the left thigh straight up. Yeah, keep the balance on the top of the right thigh. Move the thigh straight up. And then I take my belt loop. I've got it ready to go. Place it to the center of the back of my head. Okay, get all the things that you like to make it work supportively. I know this takes a lifetime to figure out how your props work just the right way. Seems to be a life practice for sure. So when I align my bone structure, I might hold the back of my head. You know, feel where your balance is with all places, especially the right leg with that sand. Maybe you have to slide it downwards. Now, if your thigh is kind of retaliating, if you can feel the energetic of the right leg not quite staying with the program, right? It's not committed. And if it's not really committed, you might want more sand on the leg. You might want a little less tension on the left leg. If it's too much stretch, you might loosen up that gap. But feel where your arms spread open and line up the things that are important, right? The things that are holding back and resisting are the attention grabbers for you, likely. And then come back to breathing. That's it, just the breath. Stretch the in and the out breath equally. Now, as you rest your jaw, feel the face kind of come to a approach in the position where it's lifted. The skin cells have that circulation, which will only get greater as we continue along here. And then when you start to slide the belt, you're going to bend your left knee and then let your head lower down. Be as graceful as you can with lowering your head to the blanket. And as you slide the belt off the head and the sand, you're going to slide the right foot in on the floor so the knee perks up, and then take that left leg, cross it over, knees to the left. And the last time I had that suggestion, knees to the chest. So it's to chest or to left, or left chest. Okay, so that external right thigh might love this. It might be a little bit stiff, right? The lateral space. If these areas in the side beam of the leg, you noticeably can't seem to let them get some release there. Use the, if you have a grippy ball or tune-up ball or any of the self-massage tools, you could roll that out. You know, and there's a couple other specific lateral shapes that you can work with. So stay with this one for a few more moments. If the bolster makes it too easy, you can push it away temporarily. And then you're in a deeper stretch, right, for the side of that leg. I like the bolster though, also because it supports my back and then I don't have as much tension in the back. You know, find ease. It's okay. It's okay to find ease. And then as you come back center, left leg goes down, right leg crosses over to the bolster. And I'm kind of hugging the bolster. And I sometimes observe this where you end up rolling so much of your hip over, it's surprising you can get your back on the floor. So find a way so that you are hugging over there to the bolster, but then you add your sand and feel how your waist can stretch, right? So you're not using the flexible spaces that are always flexible for most of us. Find the areas that you can work with challenging, which is probably the rib cage, the lungs, pressure in the lungs. That's what's going to strengthen the lungs. And so we want to feel that intra-abdominal pressure in some of these shapes. And as you feel your arm open and your head roll to the right, if you add any other sand, it's up to you. If you add arm sand, leg sand, and if your legs are clenching a little to hold the space in the shape, you might spend your energy on, maybe I should scoot my foot a little bit farther to the left, the bottom foot. Maybe I should scoot a little farther to the right. Just feel the little habits that you can create in your shapes. So let's spend a few moments here, kind of flesh out where the circulation is kind of tumbling in your core for a few moments. And truly notice any kind of inner clenching, right, that's occurring, whether it's low abdominal, back of the abdomen, kidneys, low back waist. So notice the areas that could use that gravitational movement of breath. And in this final spinal, we're going to actually just work with that gravitational fluidity of our bones and breath, and then into inversion. I think that'll be a good sequencing, I hope. I can only hope. Now, if your hips feel like they've had a little bit of work, I forgot the ball, didn't I? So ball at the sacrum. So we need to add another at least 30 seconds there. We have 30 seconds extra. So get the feel of that rotation in your hip, right? It's a turn of the hip, that lateral stretch. Now we're going to slide the ball away. What we're going to do is a few patterns of movement, and then we're going to come to a wall spot. If you don't have a wall spot, you can do your inversion in the middle of the room as well. So what we're going to do is take our legs back to the midline. It's good to find the balance in the center. Okay. If you're near your wall spot, you can kind of toss your bolster over towards it. Okay, now roll to a side. Any side will do, any direction will do. It'll be very classic, easy pattern, but I want you to have a blanket under your knees, okay? And your blanket could be a little flatter than you're used to, as long as you have something under them. Some people with knee pressure might be on the edge of the blanket, but we're gonna take it very specifically here. So we have rounding back, okay, cat. And then from cat shape, I want you to let your hips stretch back so there's length in your spine. Okay, take the hands out a little wider and then come forward into up dog. So stretch through the core line, lift up into the upper ribs. Okay, come back to cat. Hips generally push you back. But when you're hollowing through the belly, feel the fingers open, span out the hands a bit, make it comfortable in your wrists, if that's possible. And then reach back. If you're a full child poser, you can come all the way back to your heels. If that's no good for your knees, don't go all the way back to the heels. Head down. Round your back to come forward into up dog. So it's just 3 poses. Lift up at the ribs. Take this a couple more times at your own pace so that it's a fluidic motion. I go from cat, I reach back to child, so it's a little bit less defined. And then I flow forward into up dog. Yes? Yeah. Seems right. We're going through it. If a down dog seems like the right shape, you could push back to down dog instead of child's pose, okay? So next time you go forward to up dog, maybe you go from down dog to up dog. It's an anywhere sequence for a second here. And then when you come back this next time, I want you to lift up your knees. And you're going to walk on back because we're going to get to the wall space now. Come on back to your feet. And then as you roll up the spine, take it slow. Let your hands hang, let your knees bend, and then roll up, pressing into the feet. Okay, so what we're going to take is a space and a wall. We're going to take a forward bend first, okay? So what I want you to do is have your blanket nearby and your sandbag and your bolster next to a wall spot. But first you're going to place your heels at the edge of that bolster and then put your seat at the wall. So it's a little bit of a forward bend angle. A light bend of your knees might be really useful here. So feel your knees lightly bend, feel the spine flow over and gravity flow through the back, okay? If you prefer getting legs up in the next few seconds, go ahead and start getting into swinging your legs up the wall. Some of you like a blend of 2 different inversions, right, in the final set, and some don't prefer this one. I know that. So if this one's too much, then you can pass on at any time. But feel those in Uttanasana here, the selection of the brain below the heart. You know, when you're going to get ready to get your seat up, right, you're going to start to lower down. So what I'm going to do is walk over to one side of my bolster. So it's a little less knee invasive, okay? Have my blanket so it's off where my head's gonna be. And I'm actually gonna walk my feet over and slip my seat to the edge of the bolster so it's not a lot of knee danger. It's like the opposite of that. Then when I swing my legs up, it's pretty easy going. You can do also a somersault into this pose. I finally learned how to do that. I was very scared of that, but I did learn a tricky way to get into that. So I'm elated I can find something fun to do like that. Okay, so a blanket under brain is helpful, and then a sandbag on your soles. Okay, so push up your heels, push up your sand, get that feel of the leg bones centering, and almost as if they're so deeply united that once your feet are flexing, you have that sand. If it's too much, remember with the knees, you can always separate them slightly and feel what's right for your legs and your calves. And bring your arms overhead. If they don't work with that position, you can have them by your sides or resting your hands on your belly. Let your mind journey back into that conscious lift of the belly with the inhale and relaxation of the core on the exhale. Tune the mind to the coordination of breathing and witnessing sensation. And truly invite yourself to explore the pace of your breath, returning the body to a state of balance. It's turned upside down, so it might not equate for your mind as serenity, but it brings that serenity internally with time. Now, if your arms are reaching behind you, I want you to soften your elbows so they're more in a cactus shape. And start to slide your elbows down and rest your hands on your body so you have a feeling of that touch of your palms. Just feel the breath as it moves to the skin and beyond. Feel that inner warmth. Bend your knees. And then as you approach scooting your feet from the wall, you can move your sandbag. You might find that you like to toss it. Maybe you like to carefully move it. And then feet can come to Baddha Konasana for a few moments. Just let the feet go together, the knees apart. Hands push the legs. Feel how the tailbone is actually lifting away. It's not embedded so deeply to the spine base. Kind of nice to have upside downness from time to time. Just really, truly body inversion. And then as the knees flow towards each other, you just roll to the side and you let your hands carefully bring you up. And let's take a moment together, kind of feeling that unified focus in our collective, even though we're all in different studios right now. All our home studios. Yeah, feel where your space surrounding you and then where your mind can connect to others sharing in this awareness. Bring your hands to either rest in your lap the whole time or your hands united barely in front of the heart connecting the palms. Feel where the mind is rising, and then let the mind fall down to the heart center, surrendering here. Breathing together and exhaling, bowing into the space behind your heart. Namaste. Okay, thank you.